Gato Perro back with another action figure review. Today we're taking a look at the Spectacular Spider-Man the Animated Series Spider-Man from the Spider Charged Wave. Alright, so this Spider-Man includes a suction cup web and a cyber spider. And literally the last review I just finished looking at a Spider-Man named Spectacular, and this one is from the actual show. And coincidentally, I found this by accident because I was looking at my own review, answering some of your questions in the comments, and next to the suggestion box, I saw a couple of reviews for this guy, which for the longest time I thought was a custom made by some other people, where they took the original Spider-Man that looks just like the show and articulated it. But apparently it's a real thing, and here it is right in front of me. I ordered it from Amazon, and it's actually not supposed to be this figure that I ordered. The one I saw in reviews and that I saw was using this mold was actually called the Web Blast Spider-Man. And that was the picture that the seller was using on Amazon. But either way, this guy came in today, and instead he comes with a suction cup web. And I'm guessing this is the original release of this Spider-Man, and then the other one that followed is kind of just what they used for the gimmicks and all the crazy paint schemes that they used for the costumes. So I'm very happy that this is the original. You can see at the bottom he comes with a little plastic spider right there. And we get the Spider-Man logo right up there. On the back we got a picture of Spidey hanging upside down, and we got a little read-up that says, faced with more powerful villains than ever before, the Spectacular Spider-Man powers up with the abilities of the incredible bioengineered Cyber Spider to beat the bad guys and save the day. Then we got Spider Charge right there, and yet another bio, this one on just Spider-Man himself. I'll go over it quickly. It says, the heroic web slinger is up against an all-new, more powerful Venom. Luckily, the Warcrawler's latest Cyber Spider charges up his webbing to withstand the slimy supervillain's attack. Against the Spectacular Spider-Man and his Cyber Spider pal, not even Venom can stand a chance. And below that, we just got a picture of Spider-Man facing off against Venom, and it says, web sticks to some walls and windows, collectible Cybercharged Spider, and super articulated figure clings to web. And below that, we just got a bunch of old figures. We got the black costume Spider-Man with water blasting attack, Electro Lightning blast attack, Spider-Man launching webs, and Venom interchangeable claws. Alright, now I'm going to do the unthinkable, unpackage this Spider-Man from its box, and we'll take a look at the Spectacular Spider-Man once again. First, taking a look at everything that came inside the packaging, came with this little pamphlet right here, which kind of serves as a little guide and a checklist to all the figures that you would have to collect, and you'll be checking them off. Here we have the 12-inch wisecracking Spider-Man, which I do own. And in the middle right there, you can see the 6-inch figures. They have the about a 2.5-inch figures that came over here. That came with the Ooze playsets. A couple of little mobiles right there. A couple of little cosplay things with the mask and the web shooter. And on the back, we get the Spider-Man action figure series from 2008, which is kind of the same as the Spider-Man Classics, but under the name of Hasbro. And then you do get this little spider right here, which is basically what this entire box set is based around off, with the Spider Charged. It's alright, it's just a very minor paint apps. It does have green on the eyes right there. It does have like 6 different pairs of eyes. The legs, and he does have the little, almost like a Black Widow thing going on here on the spider butt with just a red. And then we do get this very large web, which is a brand new sculpt for this web. And it is quite nice looking, because I have this kind of like, almost like a Gatorade light blue kind of look to it right here. And it does stick onto walls. Very nice. It is much more thicker than other ones that I own, but alright, if you want to use this, you can. Now taking a look at the figure itself, you can see it is very reminiscent. It looks exactly like it did in the cartoon. And I'm going to bring in what I'm calling the Season 1 Spider-Man, since he was released in the first wave of figures. And I think the Spider Charge was specifically for the Season 2. You can see they're exactly the same. In the sculpt, they look exactly like they did in the cartoon. And the only two differences are the amount of articulation that they've added. They just about doubled the articulation from the original, and they changed up the paint for the blue. I think the red is exactly the same, and I think the Season 2 one is a bit more accurate. As you can see right here in this pamphlet, I can see the blue is just a little bit darker, not as light as this one, and it has just about this exact shade of almost like a purple hue to it, and a dark enough blue that matches this. Right, now I'm going to get this guy out of the way. We can take a closer look at this guy right here. Obviously, the Spider-Man head is very accurate to the cartoon, almost pear-shaped like. The eyes have been almost recessed inside of the head itself, and has a black outline going around it with a little yellowish white around it, which is a little bit different. And the webs are indented into the figure itself. And this is back in 2008, so it's kind of surprising that Hasbro released this figure, especially as detailed and articulated as it is. There we can see the back spider right there is sculpted into it. And then we do get the webbing does continue into the armpit itself. The only part that's not sculpted is the actual emblem of the logo right here, which is a little bit disappointing, but it's just fine because it does look like that in a cartoon anyway. We have his very slim waist, and then his hands right here. You can see there's a little bit of a different in plastic right here compared to the forearm, and then the rest of the hand right here. And there's a lot of cut joints. Basically, I think they took the original one and they just started sharpening up the articulation on it, and they're just adding to it. Now taking a look at the articulation, his head is on a bar joint, so it can go very minimal up and kind of down. He kind of has a little bit of a pivot to it. He does have armpit joints that go in like that and back like that, and you can get him forward enough to do almost like to make him cross his arms. He does have a bar joint at the arm. I think it's a peg and socket like that. So you can bring it out that much. You can obviously bring it down and forward. He does have a bicep swivel. He has double jointed elbows. He does have a forearm wrist rotation right there, and his hands go up and down. And then he has an ab crunch right here that goes back and just a little bit front, but then you push it far enough to kind of spring itself back into place. He does have a waist swivel. His legs are on wide joints that go forward, and they do go out pretty far. He does have a thigh swivel. He has double jointed knees. He has a calf swivel. His ankles move down, up, and most surprising of all, he has a little toe joint. So far as height, Spider-Man stands exactly around 6 inches tall. And here he is compared to the season 1 Spider-Man. You can see they're just about the same height. I think he's just increased a little bit just because of the ab crunch. Now comparing him to other villains of the series, here is Shocker, aka Montana. Then here's Electro, Flint Marco the Sandman, the Rhino, who unfortunately comes up a little short next to the Spider-Man, and lastly the Lizard, who is very short. I thought it'd be a lot taller compared to him, but oh well. And actually that's the last one I have. I still have to get my Vulture and Green Goblin, and those two are quite rare, so they're kind of difficult to find. And so is that other Dr. Octopus that is more cartoon accurate. Unfortunately, those go for a lot of money, so I don't see myself getting those in the future. Hopefully I find them loose one day on eBay or a flea market. Alright, so that's the end of this shirt review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. There's not much I can say about this guy, considering it's pretty much a flat sculpt and the webbings are just indented. But as you can tell, he's obviously just as accurate as ever as to the show, which is dearly missed. Rest in peace. Hopefully it'll come back one day, because apparently Young Justice can have a 3rd season if it has enough success on Netflix. But anyway, that's just my wishful thinking. I absolutely love this Spider-Man. It's just one that I can just add to the Spider-Man army. And I think the definitive one for my Spectacular Spider-Man collection, which I still need to complete, as I mentioned with other villains. But he is rather expensive. I did have to shell out quite a bit of money. But, you know, if you find them anywhere else for a good price, I would definitely recommend them. And yeah, that's it for Gato Perro. Stay tuned for other reviews and stop motions.